Hello everyone! Do you really know how much money you should keep in your checking account? Well, today you're in luck because I will be going over approximately how much money you should keep in your checking account, and if you do have too much money in your checking account, I have a few ideas for you of what you can do with that extra money. Also, I will be going over the different types of bank accounts that the big banks offer. So for those who don't know me, my name is Ryan Banks and my channel is about financial tips and tricks that you can bank on. And I post videos every second Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern. So before I start the video, if you want to stay more up to date with my content, or if you want to become more knowledgeable with your own finances, you should consider hitting that subscribe button. So the first thing I want to go over with you today is the different types of bank accounts that the big banks usually offer, which are a checking account and a savings account. So a checking account is where you see your day-to-day expenses or your bills, or if you go to a debit machine and you pay your gas or your groceries, that's where the money is going to come out of your checking account, and probably where you receive your paychecks every couple weeks. So there are dozens of checking accounts out there. So my best piece of advice for you is to do your research. I know I say this quite a bit in my content, but you're the best person to know exactly what you want, and you don't need someone telling you exactly what type of account where they might be able to upsell you on a more expensive account. So as I said, there are dozens of different checking accounts out there. So go check at your bank online on their website and see the different types of accounts or checking accounts that they have. So usually there's some less expensive ones to some more expensive ones. So usually on the less expensive ones, you have a certain amount of transactions that you can have every month. And when you go more expensive, that's where you get more perks and probably unlimited transactions for that month. So go look and see what best suits you for the different types of perks that you want and need for a checking account. So the other thing about a checking account is a good portion of the checking accounts may have a clause where you can have a minimum balance and they won't charge you the transaction fee or the check-in bank account fee every month if you have that minimum balance every day for that month. So now for a savings account. A savings account is where you can put aside some money so that you can meet your financial goals. And if you're not really knowledgeable about investments, this is a great account to have where you can put money aside every month so that you can save for something that you want to buy or do in the future. And usually these accounts are free. So this is a great way to start investing. And usually you see about a 0.1% or lower interest rate for the big 5 banks. So in my last 2 videos, I talked about how you can create your own budget and different ways how you can save money within your current budget so you can put more money in your pockets. Well, now the question you might be asking yourself, well, how much money should I actually keep in my checking account? Well, I've done some research, and based off of my professional opinion, I believe between 1 to 2 months worth of your paychecks is a reasonable amount of money to keep in your checking account at all times. So the first reason why I say this is because sometimes you never know, life happens and you may lose your job for whatever reason, and having that little extra buffer might be able to subside you or put you up float to pay those monthly expenses until you find another job. The second reason why I say this is because usually between the 1 to 2 month range, that's usually where that minimum balance is, where I talked about earlier, where you won't get charged a transaction fee. So for example, let's say I get paid $2,000 every month and my minimum balance is $3,000 every month. Well, maybe it's a good thing that I keep $3,000 to $4,000 in my checking account, because you never know what can happen, and I save money with that transaction fee every month. So now I'm going to go over with you a couple different scenarios of what you can do within your own financial situation. Now the first scenario I want to talk to you about today is if you're a seasonal worker where you only work a portion of the year, then I would suggest for you to raise that minimum balance that you want to have in your checking account. So for example, let's say I only work 9 out of 12 months out of the year, then maybe having 3 to 4 months of a buffer is a better amount of money where I can still be able to enjoy my life and not worry about my daily expenses while I'm not working. So the next scenario where might apply to most of you is if you have a stable job. And like I just mentioned, having 1 to 2 months worth is probably a good amount just in case whatever happens. You may have a big expense that randomly comes in if your car needs to go into the shop and you don't have that extra bit of savings. Or like I said before, if you lost your job. Now the last scenario I want to go over is if you're retired. This isn't my best area of expertise, but I still want to mention this just for those of you who are retired and are listening. So my best piece of advice for you is to talk to your financial advisor. I really don't know what your financial situation is because your checks are definitely a lot lower than what they were when you were working compared to the amount that you're currently receiving from the government. And I really don't know your financial situation, like I said, and I don't know where the different types of money that you've saved or have investments in, and I really don't know what's the best part or the different types of investments to pull out your money so you can pay those monthly expenses. But the best piece of advice I have for you is to go see a financial advisor because you don't want to put yourself in a financial situation where you run out of money while you're retired and you're literally living paycheck to paycheck and not doing the things that you want to love doing every day. Now, I know some of you may have a very large portion amount of money in your checking account, but this is not a good idea because this money is easily available to you and makes it very easy for you to spend that money, especially if you don't create yourself a budget and you just spend freely on whatever you want month after month, and that balance can go down very quickly. So if you do have that large balance, my suggestion for you is to invest that money. If you're not sure where to start, well, the first thing that you can do is look at my previous video about investing for beginners, where I talk about the different risk tolerance based off the different types of investments there are out there. So a checking account gets no interest and a savings account gets literally little to no interest. So 0.1% that I mentioned earlier is really nothing. So even if you put that money into a GIC, it's a lot better than putting it into your checking or savings account because you're going to get a lot higher return for that money if you don't need that money right away. Now, on the other hand, if you don't have a lot of money in your checking account and you're living paycheck to paycheck, then I have a couple tips for you that you're going to be able to help build on your checking account to get to that minimum balance. So the first thing is create yourself a budget. I know I said this in my previous couple videos, but this is very important because it will pinpoint exactly where you're spending your money and you will be able to see some savings opportunities that you can save. And the second tip I have for you is within that budget, make sure your income is higher than your expenses so that you can slowly build up that checking balance every month so that you can go up to a minimum balance that you're comfortable having. Now to close out the video, I just want to give you a quick summary of what I went over today. So I went over the checking account and the savings account, and the best piece of advice I have for you is do your research to see the type of account that you need so that someone doesn't tell you the type of account that you need that's more expensive and that you don't need. I also went over the minimum balance that you should have, in my opinion, in your checking account, where it gives you a little buffer. And this depends or varies based off of your job situation, is if you're stable, if you're seasonal, or if you're retired. I also went over if you do have a lot of money, it doesn't hurt to talk to a financial advisor or do your research to start investing that extra cash that you don't need right away. And if you don't have a lot of money in your checking account, that's not the end of the world. This gives you a great opportunity to start building up that minimum balance in your checking account so that you can give yourself that buffer. So whatever reason or whatever happens in your life, you do have that extra little bit of buffer. So if you do have any questions for me, you can either give me a comment or you can send me an email at ryanbankscpa@gmail.com. So before I let you go, I want you to hit that like button and that subscribe button. And I want to thank you for watching the video, and I hope you have a great day.